If you're new to our channel, please be sure to drop us a like and hit the subscribe button below. You'll be the first in line to receive our new videos. Hey pups and peeps, Angie Woods. Josh and I are back together again. Today we're doing a Q&A of your questions so that we can help you with your dog personally. So some of you are clients already, some are just followers on Facebook and Instagram, but we've got some really good questions here. And if we didn't get to your question this round, don't worry, we're going to get back to it because we tried to break things up a little bit into subject matter, and we had so many questions that we have enough to do another Q&A show. So I think that'll be really, really good.
Sounds good.
So hey Josh.
Hello.
How's life?
We're living.
That's right.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. It's all good. Who all gets to work with dogs, right? All right, so Samantha Lethgo. So Samantha is a vet tech over at Duluth Animal Hospital, for which we work very closely with. And first question is from her. Why does my alpha dog bark at my other dogs obnoxiously? Well, we've talked about how alphas make the rules and do what they want whenever they want, right?
Correct.
So sounds to me like maybe I'm thinking this is her lady dog. The little bossy girl dog she's got. I'm missing her name right now, Sam. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, she's bossy and pushy, so I think she's probably just being demanding, saying, come on, let's play.
Let's play.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do something. So she's a real high energy girl, so I'm going to think she's probably a little bit bored and she's just looking for something to do. Nothing serious, nothing really to worry about. The big deal here is, does she listen to you when you ask her to stop? So
Exactly. If
you say, remember, not necessarily words, however you communicate to your dog, stop that behavior and knock it off and go lay down. If she doesn't do that for you, then you have a little bit of homework to do about interrupting the thought and directing the behavior. But other than that, I wouldn't stress it. She's just trying to play, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. So hopefully that was helpful for somebody. So Sarah Leonard asked, how do I work on food aggression with my dog at home? So food aggression goes back to mindset, right? How your dog sees you. Do they feel like we can argue about it? Coupled with excitement many times.
And we're assuming this is food aggression with a human?
Doesn't specify, so I'm thinking maybe so.
So we'll say so.
Okay, because it is different between dogs and humans. You know, dogs can correct other dogs over their food. My solution to that is not to let the other dog come over, just so that everybody's respectful. But if they are growling, snapping, or trying to bite you over food, then there's a lot of things that we could do there.
Yeah, because that's not good.
First thing is to not create excitement around food. So most people, I talk about this a lot, 3 major areas where we inject excitement. Walking, ready to go for a walk? Greeting, oh my God, I missed you all day. And, are you hungry? Let's go get your bowl. Right? So you just taught your dog to be crazy.
Correct.
Yeah. And if your dog is already telling you what to do all day long, right? Remember, all this nudging, pushing, invading your space, telling you what to do. Why not argue with you over food? Yeah.
Woo, yawning.
Wakey. So sometimes we've created excitement. Other times, maybe we have had a rescue dog who comes to us super skinny, been starving for a while.
Right.
We can understand why he or she might be protective, defensive about our food. But there again, we have to kind of enter this with a mindset of we've got more.
Right.
There's plenty.
Correct.
And learning to slow everything down.
Yeah. Because really, many issues, questions is whatever brings you to us. There's a lot more that has to go in really behind the scenes, I guess you would say, or in daily life.
Well, that relationship.
Before you can really efficiently, safely, or effectively.
Yeah, and we have to be careful with
issues.
aggression. Yes, yeah, especially when we're dealing with aggression. My recommendation here, and I'm sure you're the same, is going to be to work on your relationship, which we'll touch on here in a second.
Yes.
Not so much, please do not reach down and try to grab your dog's food.
Absolutely
No.
not.
You need to learn how to get your dog to yield to you, not just reach down. Your dog should happily and willingly leave the food if you ask them to. However, you got some relationship work to do.
Because there's definitely the fact that they will behave this way with you. So there's one of two, if not both. There's a lack of trust and respect in the relationship towards you.
Yes.
Even though they probably love you.
Yes.
We have, unless they're brand new, we don't know. But I mean, that's normally the case.
Yeah.
And so, if you put yourself in their shoes for a second, that's obviously something that means a lot to them. And
high food drive.
Correct. I mean, if I obviously feel that it's an option to be aggressive towards you over an object, probably not a good idea to try to address that in the moment immediately.
Exactly. Yeah. We want to get them in the mindset of, number one, they need to be convinced that you're not just going to come take their food all the time.
Correct.
I often say, if you walk around eating off my plate, I may start stabbing you with my fork.
Mm-hmm.
Not really, but maybe. So many people think, well, I can just put my hand in their bowl. Well, it's nice that you can, but I don't think you should.
No.
And so there's also different ways of feeding the dog. Remember, we're not going to get them excited by saying, let's go eat, so on and so forth. So that's one thing. Because remember, the art of leading a dog through situations and gaining trust is really being able to take a nervous dog, an anxious dog, an excited dog, and making them calm.
Yes.
On the inside, not just the outside, right? So when we're focusing on those things, but we can also focus on some special techniques, like I call it like the natural kind of feeding. If there's somebody who wants to treat their dog during the day with their food, they can actually use this natural feeding technique that mimics scavenging, right?
Yes.
So when their dog is doing well, we might share a treat when the dog is doing well and is calm. And we can do that all throughout the day and actually share their meal throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
We could also hide some food in different places. You can feed dogs out of your hands. Feeding a dog out of your hand is not a cure for food aggression.
Correct.
I think it slows it down.
Yes.
I think it's kind of back to the principle of slowing down the feelings when you eat. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's creating a connection, slowing, and it's not getting into this ravenous mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot like us.
Yeah.
You know, if you sit down and you scarf it every day, and that becomes your habit.
It becomes a habit. Yeah.
Your mindset's different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think just slowing things down. So feeding them out of your hand, not bad. However, I think using the food throughout the day. Also, if your veterinarian agrees, maybe using a high fiber food so that a high food drive dog actually gets more full without less calories and without making them fat.
Correct.
And be careful of treats, of course.
Yeah, it's hard to get really specific without knowing the circumstances of their particular issue.
But the big thing is slowing down. Don't create excitement. Don't use, this is one of my biggest things, I guess if you could do this safely, is not to use a release command.
Correct.
Okay. We've seen several dogs where, people use okay or release or free or eat or whatever. And for a real lazy dog, that's not going to be a big deal. But if you're dealing with a high energy dog who's suffering from this kind of problem, you're creating a lot of frustration on the back side, or I should say on the front side, because by making them wait over here, and the difference, remember I've mentioned this before, there's a difference between sit at 0 and sit. Absolutely. If the dog is in that vibrating sit with adrenaline kicking, and then they're waiting. Remember, waiting and not being able to have something creates frustration for us. It also creates frustration for animals. Mm-hmm. And if they've been sitting here for the last 5 minutes or whatever, building up frustration, and the human not knowing how to calm them down first, then you release them, bam, fly across the room, dive in the bowl, eat like a banshee, vomit it back up, re-eat it. I mean, everything like that. And my opinion too, with the little puzzle bowls, there's nothing wrong with them per se, but I think for some dogs it can also frustrate them too.
Absolutely.
Because they're really kind of panicky, chasing them around this little puzzle. Versus, I like to feed my dog by being calm. They should sit or do something for me, just relax. They could sit and put their butt on the ground. But I just like to put the bowl in front of them, and then we're done. And over time, if you require them to be calm, and then just place the bowl in front of them while they're respectful while you're putting the food on the ground. Correct. We do have a video on this, I do believe. Then things just slow down over time. And then leave the dog alone. Things I do watch for is them getting stiff, guarding their bowl and things like that. Mm-hmm. If they are doing that to you, you're really going to either need to maybe come see us at the center or find a behavior specialist that specializes in aggressive, possessive, and behaviors like that.
Absolutely.
You may need some professional help. Don't get bit. Keep it safe. Safety number 1, because there's so many things we can do without getting hurt or bit. All right. So we have Denise McHugh, who has Jasper. She's one of our really good clients and friends. And so Jasper, he's a cute little fellow, little pit bull mix, and he is running the fence, barking at the neighbors. Right? And so this is not a pit bull problem. This is any dog problem.
Absolutely.
Right? And we share a lot. Like Josh lives in a neighborhood, right?
Yes.
You live in a neighborhood. The whole family comes together at times, right? We
Yes.
have dinner or have a birthday or whatnot, and we many times bring all of our dogs.
Right.
You've got some crazy dogs on one side of you.
Yeah.
The other one's kind of moved away, but I think you still have some small ones.
I have neighbors on either side, and their dogs love the
Bark
fence
the fence,
chasing,
yes.
arguing, fighting game. Absolutely.
So there's some ways to stop that. Number one, we have to work on your relationship. The dog should be listening to you and responding in kind. However, we may need to put a long line on a dog first so we can slow them down and have a little access to them, because you need to be able to stop the behavior, jumping in front of them, doing some body blocking. We're going to try to swing around you first.
You've got to find a way to interrupt it.
You've got to find a way to interrupt it and then send them back to the middle of the yard.
Right. Yeah. When we say interrupt, though, this is the trick with almost anything.
Yes.
You have to interrupt it in a way that they have to cooperate with you to certain
gain their attention.
Correct.
To
yes.
You.
It's not physically grab them, drag them, pull them.
No. Mm-mm.
It takes a little time in cases, but they have to make the decision to stop, pay attention.
Everything's about the decision. Yeah. And then repetition, because, the way I think about it, Josh is my oldest kid and he has two younger siblings, and they really grew up with a philosophy that I don't care what those kids are doing. We don't do that. We have a philosophy in our family of what's allowed and what's not allowed. And it's the same thing when we live with dogs.
Yes.
So we have to teach our dogs, even though the other dogs may be running up and down the fence, acting like maniacs, their job is to ignore that. And through our dogs being taught to ignore that, the other dogs will actually tone down and become bored with the whole situation.
Correct.
And just go chill out.
First is preparation.
Yes.
Be prepared. Because a big no-no would be, and not every dog will, but many dogs that could do something out of character, like maybe redirect, snap at you.
That does happen.
Something that, we wouldn't want teeth on people.
Right.
By grabbing collars, putting your hands on the dogs. Because when they're in that escalated zone, that moment.
Adrenaline.
Things can happen.
Yep. So we shouldn't be grabbing them anyway.
Correct.
That's why we're dragging the long line. We can use our feet just to stand on it. We can be maybe even several feet away when we stand on it just to stop them.
And don't scream.
No screaming, no
yell,
yelling.
no repetitive stop, here, that. It all makes it worse.
Yep.
It's exactly what you want to do when it's not working.
It is. So you have to find your way of interrupting your dog's behavior. I think using a Liberty line, Dog Psychology 101, we have those in all kinds of links. And,
that's step one.
Yeah, and so we just need to use one to your length. They come in, I think we carry them up to 50 feet. So to your length, you can step on it and stop your dog from running the fence. Then work on redirecting them. You may need to let the adrenaline come down. Do not jump in and bump and poke and touch your dog or grab your dog. Talking about the grabbing, we humans grab.
Yes.
Right?
Big no-no.
Yes, big no-no. The art of teaching them to cooperate is a really big one. And interrupting and directing is going to be the key. Now, if you know that the dogs are already outside, you can already be on your game, right? You can prepare with the line. You can correct them really early before they escalate and they're doing all the crazy running back and forth. But if you lose them, which I'm going to imagine that in the beginning you're going to lose them to the running.
Yes.
You just need to step on the line and stay calm. Remember, calm feeds calm.
Yes.
You yelling and screaming and saying their name over and over, they're not listening to you. So stop. Do something different.
Become inflated with energy.
Yep.
You have to gain control.
Yep.
Let it deflate.
Counteract with calmness.
Move forward. And repeat as necessary, because once you achieve it, this is the repetition that you have to be patient with.
Yes. Now, if I have a fence runner, every time I see the neighbor's dogs outside, I'm probably going to take the opportunity.
Absolutely.
To get out there and really practice, because repetition done the right way
correct.
Really makes great changes.
Some dogs learn.
It is how they learn.
Dogs learn through experience. They don't talk. They they can't watch the podcast or the videos.
That's true. Or listen to the podcast,
correct. The more we are... The more opportunity we have to make it clear things are inappropriate or unacceptable, the more they learn and understand and can make different decisions and choices, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So without antagonizing ever, we can recreate scenarios and situations to learn through.
Absolutely.
So that's how we deal with fence running and things like that. So, all right, Karen asks, why does my dog growl at some people and not others? And what should I do?
Ooh, that's...
Oh, the vibes.
That could be a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Typically, it depends on your dog, right? The type of dogonality. If you have a right brain dog, right brain. If you guys have not been on dogonality.com yet, we'll make sure we have a link here in our notes below. But if you have a fearful type dog, we probably are going to growl at people, especially men.
Yes.
And not always. Let's say...
Depends on the dog.
Yeah.
Like a more introverted, low-energy dog.
Mm-hmm.
Would be more sensitive to forward, high-energy people, would you say?
Oh, absolutely,
It's
yeah.
like us. If you're a laid-back human, you probably have a thinner skin for really hyper-energetic people. You know, you want to spend less time around them.
Yeah, they see them as obtuse and intrusive.
You don't click.
Yeah, chemistry. Yeah, kind of this chemistry thing.
Men and masculine energy have a common influence on many sensitive or insecure nervous dogs.
Yeah. Remember, I've said this, and I'll repeat it for this podcast again. So when you think about feminine energy and masculine energy, it doesn't mean that your dog was beat up by a man. Sometimes we know that is the case, but normally not.
Right.
It's just that imagine being in a room of 50 women.
Mm-hmm.
It has a feeling to it. Now be in a room of 50 men. Yes. It has a feeling to it. And men tend to be a little more forward and stare at dogs when they get barked at and things like that, which escalate it. So
there's a lot of reasons. I mean, so you have nervous, anxious dogs. Mm-hmm. You have dogs that are possessive, whether they are nervous or anxious or not. Mm-hmm. Then you have the dogs, I think, every now and then you meet a dog who only growls at people randomly. It's a very odd thing. Mm-hmm. That could be the creep vibe.
That could be. And I'd typically say if you have a social butterfly of a dog, and you pass someone or stop to chit chat with someone and your dog becomes upset by that person, I listen to my dog. Yes. I just don't even ask questions. I'll say something and move on. Mm-hmm. But you should. They know better than us.
So temperament and chemistry, mindset has a lot to do with why they might be growling as people.
Well, people are staring at them.
Yes.
And they're a little nervous and they continue to stare at them because they think they're beautiful or cute or just asking questions. They don't realize this social pressure is hard for some dogs.
But regardless, in most situations, the fact that the dog is growling at people often or just randomly is always going to be a link to they are feeling too much responsibility or status in that situation. It's obviously something that they feel
a duty.
They're uncomfortable, so they're dealing with it the best that they can, rather than divert to the human.
Right, exactly.
They can still be nervous or unsure or anxious, but be with you and read you. And it's like, I think my dogs should be like my children. Mm-hmm. If they're nervous or afraid, they should be okay that they're with me and they don't need to vocally overreact.
Exactly, yeah. So there's a couple things I think I would look at first. Number one, is the other person just staring at them and really causing them to be upset by that? And number two, is your dog standing in front of you?
Correct.
Yes, because it matters to the dog, not to you.
We're not trying to socialize the dog by giving people necessarily treats or pet them. We're trying to, that happens sometimes.
It does, but you would be promoting the growling at the moment.
Socialization done, it can be good or bad, and it all is dependent on the way the dog interprets the situation.
Absolutely.
In the most basic form.
Yeah.
If they are nervous at the people and you were creating more associations consistently that
if you allow them to touch them when they're upset.
People are scary, nervous, feelings are attached.
So if you have a nervous dog, the first thing I say is make your dog stand behind you a little bit while you relax.
Correct.
That, number one, controls the people, and it also makes your dog feel secure.
If you were nervous and shy in a situation, what would make you feel better? The company you were with, what could they do other than talk? Because we're going to assume that we can't talk. We're a dog.
Yeah. So
which position is a big one?
Protect
if they were to be in front or put you behind, either way, that's a conversation without words.
It is, yeah. What the people now see, hey, I'm trying to do something with my dog. Obviously, we're nervous, and your dog just feels better.
Yes.
And then now socializing. Remember, socializing means make it good. And so if we want to make people good, the first thing, get their eyes off of your dog, get your dog behind you, and everybody just relax. We can all be in the same space together.
Absolutely.
And if we make the person continue to ignore our dog, then they'll probably come sniff them, and you just have to keep that ignoring thing going.
Now, what about petting the dog and telling them it's okay and coddling?
Oh, Lord, no. We don't want to coddle anything unstable because
I know that is the first thing we want to do.
We're humans.
It's a reward.
For a human and a dog.
Yes.
And you're rewarding the wrong thing.
Yes.
Don't coddle a dog when they're afraid.
Yes.
So whatever you love, you get more of.
Absolutely.
And
even if you're seeing that it does, because some dogs you can visually see, you see some signs that it seems to make them quieter or feel better. And I believe, it's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there may be a little comfort there, but it also mainly reinforces the behavior. You're agreeing.
Yeah, you're saying those feelings are good. Yes, you're saying those feelings are good. So
that's the problem.
It's hard to fight. I know, especially for you ladies, but God, to fight petting a nervous dog. You just need to let the nervousness go away, and you need to take other action to help them not feel nervous.
So show them that it's that everything's okay.
Yeah. So I know that was a deep answer for what he would do with the growling dog at people, but there's a lot of reasons that they growl at people, and it's really all about controlling people, make people good, and then we can learn how to take those baby steps and grow from there.
Yes.
All right. So moving on, let's see what else we have here. All right. I did have one question here about the food. You know, we do have a big controversy about grain-free foods, and we actually have a video on that about grain-free foods. So you guys can Google this. There are 16 brands that have been identified by the FDA that are causing the problems. And so I just recommend going to a food that does have a grain in it, but just stay away from corn and wheat, probably soy, barley, oats, things like that are just fine. But just do your own little research and kind of go through that. Of course, if you have a chubby dog, look for something with high fiber. Don't starve them. Let them eat. Just get something that's appropriate for them and maybe their age as well, whether you have a puppy or an older dog. Okay. So Louise asked, this is a good question because, you know, we do specialize in a lot of aggressive behaviors, and this tells us something that either Louise's dog may have a neurologic problem or a relationship issue. Yeah. Why does my dog freak out and her eyes glow and she growls and has bitten me several times? She's otherwise the most loving baby I have ever had in my life. I'm so sad. So there's a few things in that short little paragraph, right?
Correct.
So when a dog freaks out and her eyes glow and she's growling, number one, her eyes glow because her pupils have dilated.
Yes.
And pupils dilate because you have adrenaline in your system. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if she is asking her dog to do something for her, and her dog is disagreeing with her request.
Yes.
That's one scenario. The other scenario is like dogs, we must remember, don't do things for no reason. They don't just out of the blue without being neurologically impaired, maybe. Which is a possibility. You know, I would probably have your dog medically checked by your veterinarian just to be sure there is no medical issue that might cause this kind of behavior. But typically it's because you've asked them to do something and they're disagreeing with you and have gotten an adrenaline spark and they're on fire and they turn into a red zone dog, right?
Yes.
And it could be over space. I don't want to move. It could be that they've told you to pet them and now they want to bite you and make you stop. It's a control thing.
Right.
There's all sorts of reasons for that, but really things like this need a veterinary checkup and probably a professional to do an actual physical on-site evaluation to see what's going on with your dog.
Correct.
So the behavior is adrenaline and aggression, sometimes fear, and sometimes we'll call it man-made dominance, not real dominance. A real dominant dog would have no reason to behave this way.
You definitely need to seek a professional.
Yeah, you need a professional for that.
If you feel like your dog is becoming aggressive
and has bitten Louise, it sounds like.
You feel like you're looking into their eyes and it's not the same dog. That's always kind of the thing. Their pupils dilate. They get a little glassy.
Don't go toward the dog.
Never.
The best thing is just to, if you're in a scenario and this has happened, best case is that you divert your eye contact and stand still until the dog has lost interest.
Yes. That
will most likely, not a guarantee of course, but most likely diffuse them and just let things settle down. But you just need to be chilled out. Don't look at them. Calm down. Be a tree. Because that really turns everything off. You got to let the adrenaline go away. Okay. Seek a professional and see your veterinarian for sure. That's more serious.
Be safe.
Be very safe. Okay, this is a good question from Jonathan Byers. He asked, what does it mean to desensitize your dog? So I've actually been teaching my staff about this a bit because desensitize is a word that is used a lot. And, we partner with the Pirellis for dog analogy, and we've been spending a lot of time together. And Linda Pirelli actually introduced this thought to me, and it really was an aha moment for me. I think I know this internally, but being able to really put words around it and share it with people. So desensitize means to expose an animal, a human, or whomever to something and make them numb to it or ignore it. All right. So we might call that like being obedient to it. Right? And everything that we teach and talk about is always about an animal cooperating willingly because they want to with us.
Mm-hmm.
So desensitize many times can kind of mean that obedience. It doesn't mean that they're seeing it in a positive light. Doesn't mean that it's become a good thing.
Right.
It just means we're tolerating it.
Correct.
So I think we have to take things further than that. We have to work on the relationships so that we're actually make things good.
Yes.
Not just desensitize them to it. So
that's kind of part of the deal.
It is. We don't believe in desensitizing.
It was like this socialization conversation.
That's right.
It has to be a neutral or positive if in any way, shape, or form an option.
Exactly.
Experience.
Yeah.
Because it's going to move in typically one direction or the other. You always want to go in the positive direction.
That's right, yeah. So moving away from desensitizing thoughts of tolerance and moving into a willingness and a positivity.
Yes.
Making the situation positive, which just means to positively socialize the dog to whatever the situation is.
Correct.
So, and that can be a very varied situation. Yeah. Now let's see what else we have here. So that was Jonathan, and now we have, I think we may have gone through here. Oh no, this is the Chastity Joan. How do you approach training old dogs who have not been trained? Same way.
That's the great news. Get this a lot.
Yes. Doesn't matter. We see a lot of old dogs who are 9, 10, 12.
Yes.
Back to Samantha Lethgo that she was our first question. We saw her Trixie at 12 years old. Mm-hmm. She was a little pit bull mix, had never been able to live with other dogs, and the neighbors had Buddy, who was grown up to be quite a man. He's a big boy now, and she wanted to adopt Buddy. He needed a home, and she was really worried Trixie couldn't do it, but Trixie came to spend some time with us, and Buddy came to spend some time with us, and she actually got to retire with 2 or 3 dogs in the house before she died at age 14. Mm-hmm. So... And Samantha and her husband did a really good job.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't mean that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. My advice there, as long as the dog is cognitively normal, we're not going into being senile or any kind of canine cognitive dysfunction, which happens to us all, as we get old. But as long as we're normal, we can still learn. Might be more stubborn.
Correct.
Maybe more ingrained.
Yes.
You have to kind of pick and choose what you might want to change, but your relationship can always be improved.
Absolutely. If you're patient, you're persistent, you're consistent. And that applies to things from many different levels and angles, but it's a mindset.
It is. And many times we can relieve them in their last years. Yes. We can make them feel so much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they go with the flow. They're much like us. Mm-hmm. If we're doing things correctly, the positive path and decisions to be made are clear.
That's right.
And they'll roll with it.
So I'd just say hang with it. Don't let them wear you down.
Even the old dogs, just because it's been happening for years does not mean it takes years to change it.
Not at all. Not at all. So very doable. So just stick with it. Be more patient and persistent and consistent. And
I've had some amazing results from older dogs.
We see them regularly. This is very, very doable. All right, Jeff Scott. How can we keep our pack protective but controlled? We want them to protect the house and the family, especially if we as pack leaders are not around. But we do need for them to obey and calm down when we issue the all clear command. And we have tried what we can think of, but we're not getting the results that we want.
Oh, first off, hey, Jeff. Jeff's a good friend of mine.
Okay, hello, Jeff.
He's one of my jeeping buddies.
Oh, okay.
That's how we met.
All right.
So Jeff, I believe, has some German Shepherds and mixes. We spoke before a few times.
Yeah.
So I'll chime in. You give me what you think. It's kind of going with everything. A dog, in my opinion, is going to be territorial to some degree naturally. And by giving boundaries and rules in our relationship is how we're going to have the ability to monitor, control, or disrupt this.
Mm-hmm. Back to your relationship.
And I get this a lot, especially from the husbands who want to make sure that we're not doing anything that takes away from keeping the family safe. It's not their job. I've come back to this. I like a territorial dog in my home for the same reason. It makes me feel safe. But their job is to be the backup.
Yes.
Not the decision maker. And it's this, a lot of things translate into the human world very similarly. It's those who protect us are the protectors who follow certain guidelines and rules and are told what to do and when to do it. And that's our role.
Yes.
And really what I'm getting to is they need to it's like everything else. Learning how to have the proper relationship with the dog helps you translate their role and what's too much and what is not. If you can't turn off the territorial response when you have people coming in the house, we've got to back up and create a dynamic between you and the dog so that makes sense to them.
So the mindset is, I have to listen to you,
right.
even in higher level situations. Yes. Yeah.
And I know the dogs probably listen to you in many, many areas, which I meet a lot of us who feel like we are the alpha, the boss, the one in control. I hear a lot of terms, and to me, just you think you have more respect than you probably do. Not that you don't have some. But you also have to remember, chances are your dog is designed to follow, and so they are going to listen to you and be obedient to you, and in most situations not going to have an issue. But the fact that they will not turn off in a very high value situation to them, which is strangers.
Right. Well, and it's a lot of adrenaline.
Right. You're not in the position that they trust you to handle the highest level things. So it comes back to decision.
Yeah, whoever tells who what to do. Because remember, if your dog is I'm going back to basics 1,000 times, you'll hear this repeated in everything that we do. If your dog is invading your space all the time, if the dog is nudging you, putting the ball in your lap, being forceful and telling you what to do all the time, and you only throw the authority card out like, hey, I can tell you what to do when the situation is high, you have not created a relationship and a mindset that is natural for the dog. We're kinder. We don't beat you up, bruise you, make you bleed, put holes in you. We're sweet. But we set rules and we follow through. And if your mindset is not there, why would we listen? So you have to practice at low levels, work yourself up to medium levels, and then work yourself up to full-on adrenalized situations like that. But they should back off, and you should be able to bring your neighbors in.
It's kind of, you have to learn to start at the bottom.
Yeah.
If you can't have the results that you would prefer to have in these situations where the dogs are not listening to you, and in tiny moments, it doesn't have to be linked to territorial. It doesn't have to be linked to barking. It can be anything as simple as, does the dog move?
Yes.
Come to you?
Yes.
Get up, get down, stop, wait, in, out, whatever they know. Do they ever tell you no, ignore you, or tune you out?
Yes. You need to look for those situations.
And do you let that go?
Right. Do you ignore it?
If you don't, can you get the response that you're looking for? Or are they just with you on a regular basis? Just easy dogs get away with a lot of things because they're easy.
That's right. Yeah.
And we have to go through this process for a little while to be able to achieve the bigger things. That tells me that they don't trust you.
Yeah. Or don't respect you.
Don't respect you. A little bit of both.
Yeah.
And it's also just a habit of tuning you out. There's a lot of practice that goes into being with, responding, listening.
And getting your dogs to listen to you with the least amount of effort and noise. I'm very quiet when I want my dogs to listen to you, but it takes practice, and we need to practice again. Go back to little things.
Yes.
Right.
Pay attention to the areas where you are least likely to follow through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because it's both sides of the leash. Remember.
You're lazy. You're tired. You're distracted. Those are the areas that are hurting you more than likely. It's where, because in the moment, it probably doesn't seem like a big deal.
No. Stay patient, stay calm.
We really don't care if they do or don't do what we've said.
Yeah.
When we let it go.
Well, and gosh, I don't know if we've actually done a video on like the door. I know we've done some videos where we've learned how to bring people into the door. Right. I would go back and look at some of our videos here on YouTube and look, because it's all about back off the door, calm down. Do not open the door until the dog's calmed down.
Yes.
So patience, and then strategy, right? So back up, calm down, keep your eye on them. When you get ready to go open the door, you want your eyeball on them, being like, don't you move. If they do move, don't let your people come in yet. They need to achieve the behavior. Remember, go back to the nail trim video with Parker and Josh. Achieve the behavior you're looking for before you take the next step forward, which means back off the door, back this way.
Right.
Calm down, which requires waiting.
Inflation, deflation. You must have a deflation in the mindset, the energy.
Yeah.
And then you have to let that go.
Yes.
It's a slow process sometimes. A lot of repetition.
And we have activities to gain better relationships with our dog. The invisible line.
Right.
Think about your foyer. You got a big open floor plan. You got to think about where I can draw this line. And so back up and calm down, but you can't cross that line. It doesn't have to be a physical line. Just a line.
And if it's a foreign habit in that moment to the dog, they're not going to listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
I call it calm and connected is the currency that I require in every place I can find.
Yep.
To get your food, to receive,
Mm-hmm.
put the leash on, to go for a walk, in the door, out of the door, to meet people, whether you want to kiss them or kill them.
Yeah.
They want it.
Yeah.
The door's not going to open until you give me a calmer level
Mm-hmm.
of deflation.
Yeah.
Connect, be with me,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can move forward. And if they step out of place, then you have to repeat. But there again, if it's not something that's in your daily life on a regular basis, why would it make sense to the dog to listen to you in an escalated moment, if we're in that moment?
In a big moment.
If you were in protect my family mode,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to respond even, pay attention to somebody who has no status in your life whatsoever? You're going to tune them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Or tell them to move.
Kind of like your little brother or something.
Yes.
Because it's really, I talk so much about being the parent and the dog being the child, even though we should not anthropomorphize our dogs.
Yes.
But if you think about the dynamic of a parent and a child relationship,
mm-hmm.
somebody makes a decision, tells them what to do.
This conversation applies to every question in some way, shape, or form that we've talked about
Always.
today. You've got to find the smallest, I call it the watered down version of these parts in your relationship. It's the things that don't seem significant.
Yeah.
It's practice. It's habits.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency will create a habit. A habit will eventually create routine, and routine is your key. And it has to be something that's just part of your relationship.
Always.
In order to transition from one situation to another. And so if they don't have to pay attention to you very often, they're not going to pay attention to you when they are inflated.
That's true.
Fixated or reactive.
So, Jeff, I hope that helps you a little bit. And your dogs, by the way, are going to protect your house when you're gone. I just remind people, I used to do a lot of protection dogs and police dogs for a very long time. And just remember, people can shoot your dog. Just like they can shoot you. They are a layer. We love them and we want them to help us and be good protectors. But, a security system, a dog, if you like firearms, have a firearm. But there should be layers to protect your family. Mm-hmm. We did help create dogs to be alarms.
Correct.
It's one reason that humans really, I think, brought dogs into the tribe. Let me know when something's going on out there. So don't beat them up for all barking. They should just listen to you when you ask and follow through and achieve.
Their job is to tell me somebody's here.
Yeah.
And then
you can say, thank you.
Job's
I got
over.
it now. That's right. All right. So I hope it helps, Jeff. Okay. So I think this is Shell, Chelle, Dang. How do you introduce a cat correctly when a dog has never really been around cats before? Right now, he's running up to her with his fur up. So we have to decide whether or not your cat, or your dog, I should say, is a cat killer or just cat excited.
Yes.
Because there's a very distinct difference. There are some dogs who are going to kill a cat as soon as they have the opportunity. And other dogs just don't know what in the heck to do with this thing they've never seen. So I like to use a crate, put the kitty cat in the crate first.
Yes.
And keep the kitty cat safe. It could be a crate inside of a crate if you had a really rowdy dog.
Correct.
But this will give us a feeling about intensity.
Right.
All right.
So are we talking about hackles up and on the crate, very forward, leaning in posture?
Mm-hmm.
Are they leaning and sniffing like they're unsure?
Yeah. Are we barking incessantly, trying to grab the crate and things like that?
Are we whining? Or what? There's a lot to...
But it sounds like maybe these two have been in the same room together, right? And the doggy has got her fur all fluffed up. That's called pileo erectus is the scientific term for that. But it comes through being nervous. Hair comes up, right? Adrenaline again. Adrenaline. We always have to remember it. And it also comes from being excited. So nervous or excited, it can happen. Some dogs do it more than others.
So once again, proper relationship makes this much, much easier so that you can calm things down.
That's right. Let the dog know cats do not equal excitement.
Yes.
So the first thing is to make the dog give space to the cat.
Yes.
And then if you have a scared cat, changes things.
That's always the hardest.
Yes. If you have a confident cat, it's always a good thing for a dog. But give space and calm down. And then if your dog is doing well, we can start to close that gap. But you have to calm down. And so the closer we get, the more excited we're going to get. And the art is to calm your dog down. And how that happens really depends. Dogs touch each other. I'm a big dog toucher. I never hit, but I do touch. So it may be that I touch with my fingers and use my little pokey fingers. And just slow them down.
A little what?
Like interruption of thought.
Connection, right?
Yes. Because if we're fixated about the cat, we have to learn how to break the fixation. Now, I will give a little precursor to this and say, like anything that is difficult, anything that may bring high energy, go take your dog for a walk first.
Absolutely.
And then come back in and then do the hard work. Same thing with bringing people in the house and things like that. Yeah. All right. So she also had a second question. How do I correct my dogs from barking at passersby when people walk by my home? How do I work on having them not bark when no one is around to correct their behavior, like if she were upstairs and couldn't come down quick enough? Well, back to dogs are supposed to bark. We shouldn't correct them like that. I don't know the breeds of your dogs, but some breeds are very barky.
Correct.
Maltese, Schnauzers, sometimes Dachshunds, Huskies and German Shepherds sometimes. So there's a lot of breeds that may be a little Min Pins come to mind.
So acceptable goal is being able to stop barking in the moment or when disrupt it. Yes. Correct. Expecting a dog not to bark is probably not an acceptable goal.
No, it's unrealistic and not natural.
Correct.
Dogs are supposed to bark.
And that could create more issues. And there are probably, we know there are ways to do that, but those, in my opinion, are not healthy or humane.
No, exactly. No, but we can teach the dog to listen to us.
Correct.
Back to your relationship.
Yes.
Just give them a boundary regularly. Think about the invisible line. Get out of the kitchen. Do this. Do this. You just want to give them a little bit of structure all throughout your day, and then they learn to listen. Then you could have a word for hush, don't bark. And you could start in the same room, and then you could grow on that. Remember, not too loud, though.
And if it's that much all day long,
you're probably not exercising your dog.
Not enough exercise. No. Once again, probably feeling a little too much responsibility about what's outside and whether that's.
But your dog is supposed to bark at people walking by your house.
Correct.
Yes, that's just plain and simple. So, I think you're Miss Dang.
Miss Dang, D-A-N-G.
I don't want to crush your soul, but I think your dog is supposed to bark. The big thing is working on your dog listening to what you would want them to do. Right. So work on your relationship there a little bit. More structure, I would say. All right, one more question. Lori Guess, our dog Watson is extremely hyper at walk time. Should we just wait for him to outgrow it? He's 2 years old. Or do we need to look into medication? I hate the idea of medication, but our neighbors are afraid of him and makes walks uncomfortable. So I've got a feeling that maybe Watson is not just extremely hyper. It sounds to me like he might be reactive on the leash.
Yes.
So he's probably traveling ahead of you. He probably started this walk excited, and he probably tells you what to do all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all that kind of comes together. So medication's not the cure.
Right.
This is a psychological issue and a leadership/teacher relationship issue.
Yes. Or whether he's barking out of I want to go see them and play and say hello or aggressively. It comes back to the same thing. If you don't
not being connected.
If you can't get connections in the small areas, it's not going to happen in the bigger moments that matter to us.
Yes.
Remember, it's all about what matters to the dog.
Yes.
That's a big high value situation for them. Then it's just the way it works.
Yeah. So we will be doing a very in-depth video on the walk one day soon. We don't have that one laid out yet, but we will. Because the walk is really a very important thing. It's a time for connection. If you have a significant other, a husband, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, if you go take a walk together, aren't you together?
Yes.
Your other half is not ignoring you and talking to everybody else and yelling and screaming at everybody, whatever, but you're connected. So your dog should be connected to you. And we'll have to get deeper into that. But the big thing is don't excite your dog. Don't get in a hurry to walk out the door. Your dog should be walking with you.
Right. I've always kind of made it games. There's some connectivity games that you can do. That just, there again, make it something that's positive. A little fun if you can. And you have to have a habit. It has to be something that happens more than here and there.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. And we should mention here, part of being natural does not mean distract the dog. When you distract your dog, like, don't look at the dog or just don't let them pay attention to it with their eyes whatsoever. How are they ever going to learn to do it? And so it just means we need to learn to start with a baby step.
Right. Barking,
Pulling, and craziness is all based in excitement. Most people, again, get them excited before they go out the door.
Yes.
And then they walk out the door hunting right away. They look left, they look right, and they do it again, and then they start. So there's a skill to learn, but calm.
Yes.
Can't say enough. So, be watching for the walk video. And then, anything you want to add?
Excuse me.
We had several questions about how to introduce dogs the proper way. We did do a video on that, so we're going to put some links back on social media and for you guys to kind of look at, and on Instagram and Facebook. All right. So.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think this was great.
Some more questions.
Yeah, and we'll do this again. Send us some more questions. Feel free to pop some in the comments below. You can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, and all the other outlets. And we're here to help you. So let us know what you would like help with.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll see you next round. Thanks again.
See you later.
Make sure you subscribe. Share with your friends. Bye-bye.